August 7, 1944, Hill 314, near Mortagne, Normandy, France. The night had not fully lifted when the German guns began to speak. At first, the sound was distant, low, rolling concussions echoing across the valleys south of Mortagne. Then it grew sharper, closer, more deliberate. The men on Hill 314 did not need binoculars or radios to know what was coming. The ground itself told them. Each tremor carried the unmistakable weight of armored movement, tracked vehicles grinding forward through the narrow Norman roads below. Hill 314 rose sharply above the town of Mortagne, a wooded ridge cresting at just over 300 meters. It was not impressive by Alpine standards, but in the bocage country of Normandy, it dominated everything around it. From the summit, the roads leading west toward Avranches were clearly visible. Whoever controlled this hill controlled the gateway to Brittany. Atop that ridge were 12 American soldiers. They were not infantry. They were not a rifle platoon dug into prepared defenses. They were an artillery forward observation team from the 2nd Battalion, 120th Infantry Regiment, 30 Infantry Division, led by First Lieutenant Turner Turnbull. Their mission had been routine: observe German movement, adjust artillery fire, report back. They had arrived on Hill 314 the previous afternoon, expecting to stay only briefly. They did not know that, within hours, they would be surrounded by the spearhead of a German counteroffensive involving elements of the 2nd SS Panzer Division and the 116th Panzer Division, part of Operation Lüttich, Hitler's last major armored push in Normandy. By dawn, the hill was already being encircled. The Germans moved fast. Their objective was simple and urgent: drive west, cut through Mortagne, reach Avranches, and sever the Allied breakout that had begun only days earlier with Operation Cobra. If they succeeded, the American advance into France could be split in half. Supplies would be strangled. Momentum would be lost. Hill 314 stood directly in their path. From the hilltop, Turnbull and his men could see German columns assembling in the low ground, infantry moving in the shadows of trees, armored vehicles concealed along hedgerows, artillery being unlimbered behind farm buildings. Visibility was poor. Morning mist clung to the valleys, and smoke from earlier bombardments drifted unevenly through the fields. Turnbull understood the danger immediately. His radio crackled with fragmentary reports. American units in Mortagne were already under heavy attack. German armor was pushing through the town. The forward observer team was now isolated. Their radio link to division artillery was still functioning, but the infantry units they had accompanied were no longer nearby. Withdrawal was no longer an option. The roads below were already cut. Turnbull made his decision without ceremony. They would hold the hill. The first German assault came before mid-morning. Infantry advanced cautiously at first, using the wooded slopes to mask their movement. Mortar rounds began to fall among the trees, bursting with sharp metallic cracks. The Americans scattered, taking cover behind shallow foxholes scraped into the earth the day before. They had no heavy weapons, only rifles, carbines, a few grenades, and the radio. That radio was everything. Turnbull called in artillery fire from batteries positioned miles to the rear. The first salvos landed short, then walked forward, adjusted by precise corrections transmitted under fire. Shells exploded along the slopes, tearing through foliage, collapsing hedgerows, scattering advancing German squads. The Germans pulled back, regrouped, and tried again. This time, they came in greater numbers. By early afternoon, the hill was under constant pressure. German infantry approached from multiple directions, probing for weak points, testing the Americans' response. Snipers targeted the radio antenna. Mortars rained down with increasing accuracy. Shrapnel shredded tree branches, showering the hilltop with splinters and leaves. The Americans fought as best they could, conserving ammunition, shifting positions, dragging the wounded into whatever cover they could find. The hilltop offered little protection. There were no bunkers, no trenches deep enough to stop a direct hit. Still, the radio held. Turnbull continued to call fire, sometimes so close that the shells landed within 50 yards of their own positions. The concussions were deafening. Dirt and debris slammed into their bodies. But the German attacks stalled again and again, broken by artillery bursts they could not silence. Late in the afternoon, German artillery joined the fight in earnest. Heavy shells began to land directly on the crest of Hill 314. Trees snapped. Earth was thrown into the air in towering columns. The Americans were forced to hug the ground, their world reduced to noise. December 17th, 1944, near the village of Landsrath, Belgium. By mid-morning, the fog that had protected the American position began to lift. Visibility expanded slowly, revealing the snow-covered slope below the ridgeline. For the 12 men of the intelligence and reconnaissance platoon, this change was dangerous. What had concealed them at dawn now threatened to expose every position they occupied. Below the ridge, German forces continued to assemble. Elements of the 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division moved through the forest in disciplined formations. They were elite paratroopers, veterans of earlier campaigns, supported by infantry units advancing along the narrow roads leading toward Landsrath. Their objective was clear the ridge, secure the road junction, and open a path for armored columns moving west. The Americans watched in silence. Staff Sergeant Roddy Edmonds and his men remained motionless in their foxholes, rifles braced, machine guns carefully positioned. They had no artillery support, no tanks, no reinforcements close enough to matter. Their strength lay only in concealment, patience, and disciplined fire. At approximately 0930 hours, the first German patrol moved into the open. They advanced cautiously, unaware that they were walking into a carefully prepared killing zone. The Americans waited until the lead elements reached a predetermined marker along the tree line. Only then did Edmonds give the signal. Rifle fire erupted in a single controlled burst. The effect was immediate. German soldiers dropped into the snow, others scattering for cover. The sudden accuracy of the fire convinced the attackers that they had encountered a much larger force. The Fallschirmjäger pulled back, regrouping out of sight. For the Americans, this was critical. They had revealed their presence, but not their numbers. Minutes stretched into an hour. The Germans probed again, this time from multiple angles. Each approach was met with the same methodical response. Brief, precise bursts of fire, followed by silence. No shouting, no movement, no wasted ammunition. The ridge appeared alive, then dead again. By early afternoon, German commanders were growing frustrated. Reports from the front suggested that a reinforced American company, or more, was holding the high ground. In reality, only 12 men remained in position, hands numb from cold, ammunition carefully rationed. As the day wore on, the Germans committed more troops. Small unit assaults became company-sized movements. Machine gun fire stitched across the slope. Mortar rounds fell short of the ridge, exploding harmlessly in the snow. Still, the Americans held. Each man understood the stakes. If the ridge fell, German armor would roll through Landsrath unopposed. If they held, even for a few hours, the entire timetable of the offensive would be disrupted. By late afternoon, exhaustion began to take its toll. Food was gone. Water froze in canteens. Fingers stiffened around rifle stocks. Yet no one abandoned their position. They had crossed the point of retreat. As darkness approached, German attacks slowed. Losses had been heavier than expected. Confusion spread among the attackers. Orders became hesitant. The ridge remained firmly in American hands. 12 men had delayed thousands, and the most dangerous phase of the battle was still ahead.